And the reason it keeps happening is because it's not about what you're doing. It's not about your looks. It's not about your sense of humor. It's not about your personality. It's about the vibration that you're
Mm.
practicing. So as long as you're practicing a vibration of I'm not important or I'm not lovable or I'm not good enough, we attract partners who are going to match that vibration, right? And everybody understands, oh, the key to a happy relationship is loving yourself, right?
Yes.
And that's great in theory, but right now we're getting practical with exactly how that works and how to shift these patterns that so many people are stuck in. All right, welcome to Change Your Reality. I'm your host, Nick Breau, and today we are doing a segment called the 30-Minute Breakthrough, where we bring in one of our audience members who's got a specific circumstance that they want to shift, and we see how big of a shift we can make in roughly 30 minutes. And today we are playing with Krisztina. Hi, Krisztina, how are you?
Hi, Nick. Very well, thanks.
Excellent. And Krisztina is in beautiful Hungary. So I think you're the first guest on our show that's in that part of the world. And Krisztina, you've been studying spirituality or personal development for very long.
Yes, 15 years.
15 years. I consider that pretty long.
Yes.
Who are some of your who would you say some of your favorite teachers are that you've been studying or listening to?
Abraham Hicks. I started with Dr. Wayne Dyer. And yeah, after Abraham Hicks, I found you in 2020, I think. And
Perfect.
that was a
Yeah.
big breakthrough and, another puzzle to Abraham's work. And
Awesome.
otherwise, I'm using EFT tapping on myself every day for some time
Perfect.
now. And I used other modalities with practitioners of Psyche and other kind of emotional
Awesome.
releasing works.
Awesome. So you've got some great tools under your belt already. We're going to have some fun today.
Yes,
So we're looking for, I believe, a relationship breakthrough.
yes, definitely.
Awesome. And not an uncommon topic. I would say money and relationships are probably the two most sought after breakthrough topics. So, for you, do you want to kind of give a little bit of a background in where your relationship struggle might be and what we're going to look at today?
There are different aspects of it, but I think the most standing out pattern is that the men I'm falling in love with, I'm really attracted to, sooner or later, but rather sooner, they leave without
Okay,
no explanation or I don't even ask them usually. I just figure out what could have been the problem. It's obviously not loving me enough. I'm not lovable enough.
okay,
And then, on the contrary, I have a lot of men who are very interested in and they sharing their love on me, but I'm not attracted to them. And I had many attempts to try those relationships. Maybe I should give in for less, and they didn't work either. And
perfect.
over two marriages, which are under the same pattern. One is this pattern, and the other one the other pattern. So
Perfect. So, you recognize a little bit of a pattern already then.
yes, definitely.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So, what we're going to do, and when it comes to relationships, there's always two things that we want to look at. One is emotional baggage. So the dominant emotions that you're carrying, because those emotions are going to define the types of people that we attract in relationships. So if we have a lot of emotions of not good enough, we typically attract partners who treat us like we're not good enough, we're not worthy, they're hard on us, they're hard to please. If we have emotions of abandonment, then we typically attract partners who ghost us or who are emotionally unavailable or not there for us. So, digging into the emotions that we're carrying is very important because our reality is reflecting back to us partners that are going to match those emotions. So that's the one thing that we're going to look at and you want to look at. The other thing you want to look at is what I call split energy. And split energy is when part of you wants something and part of you doesn't. And it's typically rooted in fear. The example that I use is a common example. So let's say in high school, you're madly in love with somebody. You decide, oh, I'm going to marry this person. We're going to have kids. We're going to live happily ever after. And then you find out that they've been cheating on you. Well, that creates an emotional wound. And then the subconscious mind, wanting to keep you safe, says, look what happens when you're in a relationship. Look what happens when you fall in love. Falling in love is not safe. And the end result of that is further on in life, when you start to fall in love with somebody, that subconscious mind kicks in and says, oh, remember what happens. And then you develop a self sabotaging behavior. So either that happens or it creates this energetic wall where no matter how much time you spend on Tinder or Bumble or trying to find dates, you can't attract anyone. And that's another byproduct of having split energy. Because when you tell the universe or your inner being, yes, I want a relationship, but part of me doesn't, then that part of you that doesn't sometimes overrides that conscious part of you that does. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So for you, typically we dive into both the emotions and the split energy. For you, it doesn't sound like you have split energy because it sounds like you are attracting partners. They just aren't the ones you prefer or they're not working out. So let's take a little bit of time to dig into what emotional baggage might be there that's responsible for the patterns that you're experiencing. How does that sound?
Awesome.
Good. And we're going to use a process called the Attraction Point Audit. And all we're going to do is, and we're going to do this a little bit quicker than I usually do it. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through a patterns of circumstances. We're going to look at a whole bunch of different circumstances. And with about 90% of people that I do this with, you'll notice a pattern of the same emotions coming up over and over again in these circumstances. Those are what I call dominant negative emotions. And those are typically the ones that are responsible for the bigger sources of contrast in our reality, including relationships. So I'm just going to list off some circumstances, and all I want you to do is just kind of identify what's the one or two kind of negative emotions that are present in that circumstance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, so let's start right away with relationships. We're going to look at other circumstances too, but in relationships right now, are you currently in a relationship or would you say that you're single?
Well, I just met someone, so I'm between, I would say.
Okay, perfect. So it's still a very new relationship then.
Very.
Okay. And it might be too new to probe this, but if you look at this very new relationship, is there any circumstance, any negative circumstance that comes to mind?
Yes. He's living in another country and working a lot. And so,
Perfect. And
yeah,
so the fact that he lives in another country, that he works a lot, how does that make you feel?
that he's not available again.
Perfect. So it's a feeling of unavailability.
Yes, and also,
Okay.
yeah, it brings up a lot of fear that, yeah, how are
Okay. And
we
what's
going to develop this relationship in circumstances like this? And
so the fear of how will we make it work?
yes,
Okay. And the fact that he's not available as much as you'd like him to be, that unavailability that he's practicing towards you, how does that unavailability make you feel?
I'm not good enough.
Not good enough. Perfect. Okay. And how many significant past relationships would you say you've had?
How many significant?
Yeah. So you said you've had two marriages.
Yes, I,
So how many kind of significant or long-term past relationships would you say you've
I
been in?
would say five.
Five. Okay, let's go through all five of those really quick.
Yeah.
From the most recent until kind of the furthest back. Okay?
Okay,
And we don't have to go into super detail. I just want you
thank you.
to go to No, we're not going to go into major detail here. All I want you to do is we'll count them down from 5 to 1,
Mm-hmm.
5 being the most recent, 1 being the oldest.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at number 5, if you think of the worst part about relationship number 5, what emotion does that bring up for you?
I'm not important enough.
Not important. Perfect. And same question number 4.
The same.
Not important. Perfect. Same question number 3.
The same. Doesn't love me enough.
Perfect. Number 2.
The same.
Same. Okay, so sometimes the pattern is more obvious than others. So obviously we have a pattern here right away. So this not important dynamic, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel that in a way that I'm, you know, how can I be so dumb
Okay,
um, that I didn't even recognize this pattern that much?
that's okay.
And
Almost everybody is practicing these patterns. I can
okay,
guarantee you that every single person listening to this podcast who is struggling in their relationships either has an obvious pattern like this or they're
mm,
practicing split energy that they just don't know it,
okay,
right? I mean, when you look at society, how many people are you noticing seem truly happy and stable in their
mm,
relationships? My guess is it's probably less than half,
yeah,
right?
true.
So for you and for anybody else listening to this, please do not be hard on yourself because you have these patterns. The advantage to being able to hear me talk about this and us to go through this is that, this is the first step of empowerment.
Mm,
Knowing what's holding you back is the first step to being able to shift it. So, sitting with me here today, Krisztina, this is you standing in your power, working through the things that are holding you back. And a lot of people don't even have the courage to do that. So, pat yourself on the back.
thank you.
All right. So,
Okay.
the fact that I'm attracting all these people who treat me like I'm not important.
Yes,
How does that make you feel about you? So, the first pro we said that the thing that came up was not good enough, right?
and I have this Nick that in a way I know that I'm a worthy person, that I'm a valuable woman. I know that, and but in the same time I don't understand what's wrong. Yeah, it makes me feel overwhelmed, and also um, I'm just standing there and watching this happening, and I don't have a clue what to
Yeah.
do.
And and I love that you said that because I can almost guarantee you that the people listening to the podcast are saying, "Yes, I can totally relate to what she's saying because I don't understand why this keeps happening to me." Right? And the reason it keeps happening is because it's not about what you're doing. It's not about your looks. It's not about your sense of humor. It's not about your personality. It's about the vibration that you're
Mm,
practicing. So as long as you're practicing a vibration of I'm not important or I'm not lovable or I'm not good enough, we attract partners who are going to match that vibration, right? And everybody understands, oh, the key to a happy relationship is loving yourself, right?
yes,
And that's great in theory, but right now we're getting practical with exactly how that works and how to shift these patterns that so many people are stuck in, right? So, as you think about all of these people treating you like you're not important, what's the one dominant emotions that comes up? Is it I feel like I'm
angry.
fill in the blank?
I think I'm angry,
Angry. Okay.
frustrated.
And is that stronger than the not good enough feeling?
I think yes. By now, yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. And if you go all the way back, this is the last probing question. If you go all the way back to childhood and the dynamics between you and family members, do you recognize the same pattern of possibly feeling like you're not good enough or not
Yes.
important or not lovable?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And which of those emotions would you characterize? Which one of those emotions you think best describes the emotion that comes up?
About my family members treating me the same? That's what you're asking?
Yeah, so these patterns, they don't just come out of nowhere, right? So you constantly attracting relationships where you feel like you're not important, that relates to, in some way, almost, I would say 95% of the time, it relates to something in childhood, either the way your parents treated you, sometimes it's a trauma. So for you, can you see what underlying childhood emotion relates to this pattern?
Mm, yes. Well, if I think back how they treated me, I feel anger and disappointment
Okay.
and sadness as well.
Okay. And let's look at split energy really quick, because I don't want to leave that completely out of the game. So if you were to attract your ideal relationship, the perfect person, they showed up tomorrow, and that match was just, it just felt so good. In what way would that feel unsafe? Is there any scary feeling that comes up in
He
that?
will leave me.
Perfect. So again, it's the fear of abandonment.
Yes.
Okay.
And also a fear that I'm going to screw it up.
Perfect. Okay.
And I think this is important that screwing up not with my activity, the how I
Yeah.
behave, but about who I am, or you know, or yeah, maybe more how I behave, because I know that I'm a valuable person, but because of all these fears, I'm going to act and behave the way they're going to leave me.
Perfect. So final probing question. What must I believe is true about myself to feel that I'm going to screw it up?
That I'm not good enough.
Perfect. And that's where we're going to start with the clearing work, because when I look at all of this unimportant and the abandonment and the not good enough and the fear of screwing it up, that's kind of where it ties into. So in my books, I talk about the 5 archetypes of attraction, and you're familiar with them. You told me already. For me, when I see the pattern of ghosting and people not being there for you and not being made felt important, there's kind of actually 2 archetypes that come to mind. One is the abandonment archetype, them not being there for you, and the other is the not good enough archetype. And the abandonment typically relates to the unlovable, which again relates to not good enough,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Um, one of the symptoms that a lot of people have who practice this pattern and have a strong dominant negative emotion, not good enough, is also tight, tense neck and shoulders. So I'm
always,
not sure if you're always, yeah.
always.
So that
Even
means
now.
perfect. So that means we're exactly on the right path, and that we've identified the right thing. I love to cross reference with physical symptoms, um, and again, 95% of the time, what comes up in this probing almost always matches what you have going on with your physical symptoms. So people who have lower back issues, usually it's lack of control, stuck, powerlessness. Neck, shoulders is stress, pressure, overwhelm, not good enough. And again, there's books on this topic that map a whole bunch of different things. It's fascinating. All right, so I would say for some clearing work, let's just start with the not good enough feeling, mainly because it's, to me, energetically, vibrationally, it feels like it's at the root of all of this. Um, I want you to know your good enoughness. I want you to know that you truly are lovable, and I know that once you shift out of these false perceptions, that your relationship circumstances will absolutely change. Sound good? Any questions before we dive into doing a bit of belief tree work?
No, just my
No, you're
appreciation.
good. You're ready to play. So everything we've said has resonated so far then.
Yes, 100%.
Awesome. Great. Okay, Krisztina. So let's start with that not good enough feeling. Are you familiar with the belief tree process?
Yes,
Perfect. So the key thing here is stay out of your head, try to stay grounded in your body, and just whatever answer comes up, even if it doesn't make sense, go with that. So this not good enough feeling, 0 to 10, if you really allow yourself to tune into that energy that's there, 10 being high, 0 being gone, what number would you give it?
8.
8. Perfect. And just curious, can you tell where that feeling sits in your body?
It's around my hips, I think.
Perfect. Good. Okay. Now, again, staying relaxed, staying grounded. What's the first thing that comes to mind when I say, I feel like I'm not good enough because
I've never been good enough.
I've never been good enough? And 0 to 10, how strong is that feeling?
Or 10.
10%. Perfect. And that feeling like I've never been good enough. I feel that way because
No one
first thing
loved
that
me.
pops in your head,
No one loved me.
nobody nobody loved me.
The way
So
I
you're saying no,
wanted to.
0 to 10, how strong is that feeling? Nobody loved me.
That's less, 8, I would say.
8. Okay. And that feeling, nobody loved me. I feel that way because
Because my parents never showed it that they did.
perfect. My parents never showed it. All right, let's play with this a little bit. This perspective that nobody loved me. So you mentioned you were married twice,
Yes,
okay? And in those relationships, I'm assuming there was probably some good moments and some
yes,
not so good moments. Yes?
absolutely. A lot of good
Perfect.
moments.
Perfect. And in those good moments, while you were experiencing those relationships, do you believe that those people that you were married with loved you?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Awesome. So a minute ago you said nobody has loved me.
Well, in my childhood,
Would perfect. Okay. So would you agree that the belief nobody loved me doesn't make
yes,
sense?
you're right.
Good. Good. So is it still an 8 or has it shifted a little bit?
6,
6. Perfect. Okay. Nobody loved me. I still feel that way because
because I still don't have the relationship which loves me left.
okay. Perfect. So are you saying that every single person on this planet who is not yet in the relationship that they want to be, that nobody loves them?
No,
Good. So just because you're not in that relationship yet doesn't mean nobody loves you.
no,
And even your parents, would you say your parents were very strong-willed people? Very, very kind of, um, how do I say this? Very kind of put up like a front, very unemotional.
Y- Yes. Yes.
Okay. Is it possible that your parents didn't feel safe to be vulnerable to express love?
Yes. Yes.
Is it possible that deep down your parents did love you, even if as a child you couldn't see it or they didn't express it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this belief that nobody loved me, is it possible that that's not true?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it still a 6 or does it feel different now?
Much less.
Much less. What number would you give it?
Two.
What number would you
I
give it
would
now?
say two,
2?
three. Two,
2,
rather
3.
two.
Perfect.
Yes.
Let's give it a 2. Okay. Let's probe it one last time because I would love to completely get rid of this. So this belief, nobody loved me. I feel that way because
I don't feel that.
good. So you'd agree that that belief is now gone?
Yes.
Good. Next, we're going to work our way back up this belief tree. I've never been good enough. Does that still feel like it's a 10 or has it shifted a little bit since
No,
we talked?
it is shifted. It's not
Okay, and
true.
what number would you? So that feels completely gone now as well?
Yeah. Yes.
Perfect. Good. So that not good enough feeling that we started off with, can you feel down in your hips? I think is where you said you could feel that not good enough feeling. Does that still feel present? Is it still an 8?
I can't find it. I'm looking for it.
Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. Good. So do you feel lighter now?
Yes, my whole body is numb. I feel like, like a heavy, I don't know, something just lifted.
Beautiful. And do you see how easy it is to clear some of these? And you've been carrying this probably most of your life, right?
Yes.
These things are sometimes so easy to clear when you know what questions to ask and how to look in the right place. Now, I want to do a little bit of tapping with you just to solidify this and anchor in this feeling that you are good enough. If you scan your body, can you feel a feeling of, yes, I am good enough anywheres?
Yeah, in my chest, I feel I am good enough.
In your chest, like in your solar plexus? Perfect. Can you tap with me a little bit? Just
Sure.
follow along with me and we're going to just say a few statements.
Okay.
I really am good enough.
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 I've always been good enough.
I've always been good enough.
Even when I couldn't see it.
Even when I couldn't see it.
But now I do.
But now I do.
I really am good enough.
I really am good enough.
I've always been good enough.
I've always been good enough.
Even if other people couldn't see it,
Even if other people couldn't see it,
it's always been there.
it's always been there.
My inner being knows I'm good enough.
My inner being knows I'm good enough.
Nick knows I'm good enough.
Nick knows I'm good enough.
All of the people listening to this podcast know that I'm good enough.
All the people listening to this podcast knows that I'm good enough.
And I can give myself permission to see it too.
And I can give myself permission to see it too.
That I really am good enough.
That I really am good enough.
Good job. Take a nice deep breath. Let that solar plexus feeling kind of integrate into all the cells of your body. Great job, Krisztina.
Great job.
The work you're doing on this podcast today is evidence that you're good enough. Right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's go back to the relationships again.
Okay.
This feeling that I'm not important, does that still feel present at all? Or does that feel gone too?
I would say maybe just like one or just tiny
Okay,
bit.
mostly gone.
Yes.
Okay. What about this fear of I'm going to screw it up? How about that one?
I still feel that a bit. Oh,
Let's work on that one a little bit. So it's an unsafe feeling that I'm going to mess it up, correct?
yes.
0 to 10, how strong is that feeling?
5-ish.
5, perfect. And that unsafe feeling, I'm going to mess it up. I feel that way because,
Because that's how I used to do.
okay, so that's what used to happen.
Yes. And
Perfect.
I'm not sure if I'm wise enough.
Okay. Is it about being wise enough?
No.
Or is it about practicing a different vibration?
Yes, it's about being more stable.
Perfect. So with every shift in perspective, with every release of a negative emotion, you practice a different vibration, agreed?
Yes. Yes.
And knowing that, are you right now a different person than you were when we got on this call maybe 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago?
That's for sure.
So you are a brand new Krisztina practicing a brand new vibration, which is going to lead to brand new what? Or different what?
A different behavior in a relationship.
Different
This
experiences.
different. Yes.
Absolutely. Good. So this belief that I'll mess it up, do you think that's possible that it's not even relevant anymore?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. And how does that feel knowing that you may have now completely shifted out of that?
Free.
Free? Awesome. Can you take a deep breath in and just anchor in that feeling of freedom? Can you anchor in the feeling that I no longer have a relationship block? That I'm all done with those? That I've shifted beyond these relationship blocks and it's finally time to let in the relationship that I want and deserve? How does that feel?
I have a slight fear, but a small one, but
Perfect.
it's, yeah.
And what's that fear that comes up?
Is can this be true? You know, that's the question is coming up.
Okay, so there's a feeling of doubt.
Yes.
Perfect. And the doubt that it's not possible for me to have that dream relationship, correct?
Yes.
And 0 to 10, how strong is that feeling of doubt?
4.
4? Perfect. And that doubt, that feeling it's not possible for me, I feel that way because
Because I have a great experience of not having that. But then
because
I'm
so
going back again.
because it hasn't
Yeah.
because it hasn't happened yet.
Yes.
Okay. So are you saying that every human being on this planet who has not yet been in their dream relationship, it means that too bad for them, it's never going to happen?
No. No.
Do we have like an expiry date where once we reach a certain age that it's too late?
No.
Perfect. So have you ever heard the expression there's a first time for everything?
Yes. This is my
Good.
first time with you.
Perfect. And you're doing pretty damn good so far. So knowing there's a first time for everything, does that include a first time for beautiful relationships?
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
Can you give yourself permission to experience that beautiful relationship for the first time?
Yes.
Can you set your intent I am ready to let that relationship in.
Yes.
Can you be open to the how and the when that's going to show up?
Yes.
And it could be the guy that you're currently with. It could be somebody you meet at a coffee shop this afternoon.
Yes.
Who knows?
Yes. I leave it to the universe.
And the universe knows exactly what you want. Your only job is to line up with it. And the work that we did today, you are absolutely one giant leap closer. And you might be all the way there to letting that in.
Wow. Yes, I can feel that. Thank you so much.
Good. So this belief that it's not possible for me, does it still feel relevant?
No, not at all.
Awesome. Good. And how do you feel right now compared to when we started the call? Do you feel lighter? Do you feel different?
Lighter and cheerful, as you can see. I can't swipe up my
Perfect.
smile off.
Perfect.
Wow.
Your energy has definitely shifted in a great way. I'm excited to see what's going to happen next. You'll send me an update once that guy
That's
manifests?
for sure. You'll be the first to know.
Absolutely. Good. And any final questions or comments before we close out?
I just would like to thank you this opportunity. This I could never dream of. It was, just coming to me. So much appreciation for that. Appreciation for that, and yeah, what you are doing is. There are no words for that because you are changing our lives with these
Awesome.
videos as well, and I'm so grateful that I could be any part of this.
I absolutely appreciate your kind words and I appreciate you for being here and playing with us. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to benefit from this episode, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
And that concludes today's episode of Change Your Reality. If you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show or join the membership community, you can find all the details on my website. And I might also do a relationship breakthrough webinar, a free webinar in the next week or two. So if you're interested in that, I'll post some more details on that website at nickbreau.com. Bye for now. That's it for today's episode of Change Your Reality. If you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, to join our membership community, or to be trained as a facilitator, you can find all the details on the website at nickbreau.com.